Bomac gets detained at an airport in the UK, probably somewhere in the Heathrow area of London, because of gun charges and carrying a gun with him, when a lot of people know that it's quite illegal to carry something like that in England. And in the other news cycle that I'd like to bring up is MMA Guru crying on stream because he got doxxed. Now, I thought these two stories are really interesting to bring together in the sphere of combat sports, and I'm going to tell you why. For one, you got to understand the measurements that you have to take when you travel. In other words, what a lot of people have to understand, especially if you are an American or if you are a British person or you are a person that lives in a very privileged Western country, one of the things that you have to understand is whatever privileges that you enjoy in your own country, you're not going to have that same enjoyment or right in other countries. Not the same rights of freedom of speech, not the same rights of open carries in terms of lawful or unlawful gun registrations or gun ownership. And these are things to take into consideration. Also, the local laws with what you can and can't do. For example, the extreme end of an example that I could give is if, let's say, you're in North Korea, you can't do certain things that would somehow make the leader look bad, or step out of line when it comes to using media, or what kind of media you can use in a limited amount that the local authorities are allowing you to have or not allowing you to have. These are all important factors to take care into consideration. With MMA Guru, what I found very fascinating about this guy is, for those of you that don't know MMA Guru, let me give you guys a brief summary of who he is. He's an MMA YouTuber straight from London, very successful at his endeavor as a YouTuber. And by the way, because he started out with very few highlight effects in his, like, how do I say this, in his content. It's not very like high it's not high quality, as you could say. I mean, he uses a camera, he uses a phone, he uses a webcam, and shoots in his mother's basement, from the way that a lot of people describe it. And then other people may say that he was doing it at a shed. But nonetheless, he's a very private guy. You don't know his real name, okay? Because it's not like with this kind of channel that I have, I'm giving you my whole first name. I've fought before. I've competed before. So I don't have a problem with using my name as some sort of way to try to launch my platform in any kind of degree. And then plus, if I get some sort of awards or anything like that, I want it to go straight to my name, and there's no undisputed like claims in terms of who is the owner of this channel. But nonetheless, that's neither here or there. He tries to play a character that says something to the effect of, okay, well, I'm just this online character. This is my name. It's not my real name. So if, let's say, you have certain laws in the UK that can be deemed as hate speech or speech that goes against the local policies and what have you, then he can just go out and say, well, I'm just a character and I'm just playing a role. And this is what he does, right? Over the years, he's gained a mass amounts of followings. He's got beef with the likes of Aljamain Sterling. He got into it with Michael Bisping. He got into it with a whole load of MMA fighters. There's some that support him. Bryce Mitchell is one of the guys that supports him. MMA Guru is friends with Jesse on Fire. Luke Thomas has called him out in a subliminal way, not really calling him out by name. So he's in the sphere of being an influencer in the MMA social media world, or in particular in YouTube. And he's done a very good job over the years of really protecting his identity. And then all of a sudden, people went and doxed him. They found out who he was. Now, that right there is alarming. And this is why it's really important to make this video. Because you got to understand, for a guy that made a conscious effort in not disclosing any information about himself, still went out there and got himself in trouble with other people online. Maybe other people didn't like what he had to say. I mean, let's face it. let's be honest about MMA Guru. The guy says a lot of horrible things about other people in ways that is sort of subliminal, in ways that is for value of entertainment, and that's something you have to take into consideration. But nonetheless, where is the line drawn in reality and fiction? And that's something that we got to try to understand with MMA Guru. So, I'm not going to say that I'm happy that he got doxxed, but I am going to say the guy deserved it to a certain degree. I mean, look, you play dumb games, you get stupid prizes. And of course, the guy keeps his nose clean. He doesn't try to get into beefs with anybody. But he does say a lot of horrible things about fighters. He does try to take a jab at Muslims. And let's not try to pretend like he doesn't, right? So what I got to say is that, just like what I told Rigo earlier in his live stream, I said something to the effect that, you know what, this is probably a punishment from Allah. But nonetheless, that's neither here or there. Always keep in mind that no matter how much you disclose out there, it can be used against you. And for MMA Guru's unique case, I just don't understand how it is that somebody like him was able to get caught up in these types of situations, and yet here we are, getting doxxed, people finding out his address, and now probably getting into the effect of his family life. And then moving on to Bomac, how do I really classify this? I mean, look, a lot of English people, I gotta tell you, they really don't like guns. They just really believe that guns are meant for the military and for the police, and if you're a criminal, that's probably the only reason why you need a gun. Nonetheless, neither here or there, one of the things you gotta understand, is that you need a gun because you never know what's going to happen at any given time. Just like that right there, right? I didn't know that was going to fall. But you need to have a certain measurements of foundational support, certain measurements of deterrence, a certain measurements of security and safety. Because although you can rely on the police if, let's say, whatever happens, it's not a guarantee. What is a guarantee is to always bet on yourself. Now, with that said, with all that pro-Second Amendment jargon that I just spit at you, you just can't bring a gun to a foreign country because just like what I made a point in the beginning of the video, I mentioned something to the effect of when you're in a different country, you are playing by different rules and different jurisdictions. So whatever it is that you're dealing with, when you're in America or when you're in England or when you're in Canada or whatever rights that you feel you have in Australia or in Abu Dhabi or in the UAE or Saudi Arabia or whatever country or part of the world you're from, South Africa, you're just not going to experience that in other countries. And some may differ, some are the same, but there are reasons why different countries have different laws, and unfortunately for Bomac, he got caught up in this situation. Now, did he do it on purpose? Look, I'm going to tell you that part of this is just slipping up. Perhaps maybe he left his gun in some sort of luggage and he forgot. Okay, but still, that's very irresponsible on your part and you should be aware of these things. Nonetheless, this is just a reality of the situation. You just have to be careful. That's the overall theme for these two stories that I could give you. Be careful. And sometimes you can never be too careful enough. And that's just the reality of life.